Wings and LA Law return next Thursday with all new episodes. Now stay tuned for David Letterman's 10th anniversary special.
Believe me, I'm just as sick as you are about preempting LA Law.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
His paintings redefined comic book heroes. His vision inspired a generation. The Legend of Kingdom Come is the definitive documentary on Alex Ross, known as the Norman Rockwell of comics.
It almost looked like Renaissance paintings, except for superhero.
He makes them look like Olympian gods.
We go behind the scenes of his definitive graphic novel, Kingdom Come, now on Blu-ray, packed with exclusive interviews and unseen artwork. Order today at legendofkingdomcome.com.
If you're here at Word Balloon, it's because you like comics, creators, conversation, pop culture subjects. Would you consider joining the League of Word Balloon Listeners? Patreon.com/wordballoon. For just $3 a month or more, you'll get exclusive access to the Word Balloon e-magazine, featuring transcriptions of some of my best conversations. When you subscribe, you'll also be part of the Word Balloon Book Club, where Brian Michael Bendis and I will pick a comic every month to review and discuss live with the League on this show. Join the League today, patreon.com/wordballoon. Thank you always for your support, League of Word Balloon listeners. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome again to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. I'm always happy to talk to somebody that is falling up, if you will, especially in this current media environment. It's great to see a fantastic comic book writer, now a novelist and television showrunner. It's Van Jensen, everybody. Welcome back, Van.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me. Yeah, just falling, just ass over tea kettle on my way.
That's great, man. Seriously, we were talking off the air, and we both know a lot of people, that have long resumes, and it's kind of tough out there getting something greenlit. But let's start, because you have new comics and you have a new novel to talk about as well. Let's start with the novel, Godfall. Great premise, man. Very excited to talk about this. I'll let you do the elevator pitch for Godfall.
Yeah, so Godfall, it starts out, there's a sort of like 3-mile long thing, like an asteroid something hurtling towards the Earth. Everyone's like, shit, like we're done, we're cooked, like whatever this is, it's bad. And when it gets close enough, it's vaguely humanoid looking. So it's almost, like Galactus-ish thing coming at us. So, panic. That's just the first chapter. From there, we skip forward in time a couple of years, and this thing has landed. It's this giant alien, and it just sort of settles onto its back, and it's dead, as far as anyone can tell. It has a massive blade stabbed through its chest. So something else has killed this thing, and so it's lying, and it's landed in western Nebraska, middle of nowhere, very flat prairie land, and then this like mountain range of an alien next to this small town. So what the story is really about is a small town that was the middle of nowhere that all at once becomes the center of everything, right? So you have this influx of people, and it's like a city overnight settling on to this little town. You have the government, you have soldiers, you have spies, you have cults, you have tourists, on and on and on, right? And the story is about this sheriff who was a guy who grew up in this small town. He just wanted to be the sheriff of his small town. He wants to preserve his small town, but now he has to deal with all this, this massive big city stuff, let alone the craziness of the giant. And then people start to die in pretty grisly fashion. And the sheriff is convinced that this is tied to the giant in some way. And so it's his story of trying to protect his town and find the killer, all with this crazy sci-fi backdrop looming over everything.
I love it, man. And I also love the fact that Ron Howard found interest in it. And it kind of makes sense. It took me a second, and I'm like, first I'm like, that's really cool. Ron Howard is into this. And there's even a pull quote, everybody, on the cover. My image is probably too small for you to see it, but I'm like, wait a minute. Of course, Opie is into this, because, and I don't know if that was in your mind, Van, but seriously, I'm like, oh man, wouldn't it be great to make this a comedy and suddenly have feeling with?
Well,
Now, I don't know what we're going to do about this, Martin. We got some large alien over here. It's much, it's more serious than that.
It's such a funny thing, and like the way that life takes you. Like there is literally a line in the book that it talks about the main character and says like he just wanted to be Andy Griffith in his own little Mayberry, and I wrote that line like. So the book is on its way to becoming a TV show, and there was a whole like big Hollywood bidding war for the rights, and it was this whole thing, and all these people in LA, they're like, oh, like you wrote this very cinematically, like you wrote this to sell it to us, and I was like, no, I just like wrote a book, guys,
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean obviously like very flattered to get that interest and to have people. That's sort of like the top of the mountain out there, and for people at that level to really think that the book is high quality and the writing's good, storytelling is good. Yeah, it feels good to hear that, of course.
Absolutely. So is is the show you're running, because you told me you're running a show, is it for Godfall?
No.
Okay, we'll get to that. That's fine.
But
Ron has, or I should say Ron's company, I assume it's Imagine, that does have interest in this.
Yeah. So kind of the backstory of this. So I kind of out of nowhere, like the book was originally a small press book, and it was on its way to coming out, and I sent it out to my manager in LA, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna sell this, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then he shows me the list of who he's going to send it to, and it's like Ridley Scott and J.J. Abrams and Ron Howard and on and on. And I'm like, sure, go with God. And then all of a sudden we started getting bids, and
wow.
My manager had said like the most bids he'd ever gotten on a book was 4, and we had 12.
Fantastic, man.
It just really was like 0 to 60. And so I'm an executive producer on the show, and, I'm not writing it, but very involved in it. And then the book subsequently, like this new version that's out is, it's with Grand Central Publishing, big publishing house. It's going to be a trilogy. So there'll be like a new book every year. And it was like truly like one of those life-changing things. It just out of nowhere.
What led a comic book guy to start writing novels?
I never defined myself as a comic book guy. Like as much as I was, like comic books were the thing. But I actually wrote prose before I ever had a comic published. Okay. I think we talked about this before, like since we both came through journalism, but I was a newspaper guy. But like as a kid, like I wrote short stories, I made comics, I made short films. Like I was, it was just like I was painting, I was drawing, I was doing all sorts of different stuff. And so, but prose was always really a passion. And I almost like I got accepted to an MFA program like 3 different times to do fiction writing, and I just never went because I got busy with comics. But yeah, like this Godfall is the 3rd novel that I wrote. So the first 2 are terrible, but I was always trying. So this is just the first one that's like good enough to actually do something with.
Okay. All right. Excellent. I mean, are we 2 years away from anything showing up on air? I mean, usually it takes a while to develop a TV show.
With Godfall, yeah. So the kind of the way the scheduling works is that they really need to start filming this fall. So that's the intention, is to start filming. So Ron is he's shooting a movie right now, and yeah, the thought is that this would be like the next thing on the slate.
Wow. Have you had then direct conversations with Ron about this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, when I was like selling the rights to Godfall to LA, to the Hollywood folks, it was just this like surreal thing to do, where my manager, he was like, people were like, oh, we'd like to meet with Van before we, like bid for the rights to this thing. And my manager was like, no, like put in a bid. And if you put in a bid, then you can talk to Van.
Good for you, man. Good for him.
So, and like I grew up on a farm. Like I'm not a big timey guy, right? So it was this bizarre situation where I was having these, like video calls with all these different people. They're all these very high level people, and they're like, hey, like please let us pay you to get the rights to this, So it, like the dynamic was that, and so I had off the bat like a really lovely call with Ron, which is a huge part of why I chose Imagine. He's like exactly the person you would think that he is.
That's well, come on, man. Really, him and Brian Glazer, seal of approval, hit after hit. So I don't blame you at all. Absolutely.
And Ron was he was committed. He was like, I want to direct. Like, not only do I want to direct the pilot, I want to do the whole first season.
Wow.
So like, yeah, man.
Sure.
You were the Oscar winner here.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to see something before we talk. I don't know about
that. Right.
That's great. No, man. Seriously, every interview I ever see with him seems like salt of the earth. And the great thing is, man, and I'm happy that wonderful news. Truly, you had me with the concept and everything, and I'm a big fan of genre splicing, and it's one of the reasons why I'm always happy to talk to you. But all right, everybody, this is a great opportunity to jump on this thing before it does become a TV show, and grab this book, Grand Central.
Grand Central, yeah, it just released last week, so mid-January, so it's out everywhere.
Fantastic, dude! Way to go! That's excellent.
Thank you.
And of course, now you do still have a hand in comics, and as we were talking, because another interesting genre splicing is happening from IDW. The trade is out, and that is there we go, Godzilla Heist. So, I mean, obviously the title kind of says it all.
Yeah.
Tell me what you want to about this pitch.
Yeah, I mean, this was one, I had done the graphic novel Arca with IDW that Jesse Lonergan did the art for. And so, had the relationship there. And the assistant editor on that book took on the Godzilla books, and he asked me, he was like, hey, what do you think about Godzilla? And I was like, my kind of inherent challenge with Godzilla is that Godzilla, you can't characterize Godzilla, right? Like Godzilla does not have emotional interiority.
What's his motivation in this?
Right. And like Godzilla is the coolest thing ever, and so I really wanted to do something. And so I was just like, I don't know, what about a heist set in a Godzilla attack? And that was it. And Jake was just like, yep.
That's excellent.
So, and then it becomes just like, well, how do you sort of create the justification and like the stakes and make it, not just like a boring heist. So essentially the story is there's this guy, Jay, who has figured out where there's a certain type of atmospheric anomaly that correlates, like when that happens, Godzilla tends to show up, and he figures out how to create that anomaly. So it's like, if you create a Godzilla attack, you can, kind of run roughshod because what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a big diversion while you're doing what you want to do. They're dealing with the big bad. Absolutely, man.
Right. So there's sort of a big secret objective that he's after that ties to his family's history. And it is this object that he is after is locked several levels beneath Whitechapel, which is the British Defense Ministry building in downtown London. So he has to lure Godzilla to London to break into the most secure place essentially on Earth. And it's very ground level, but it does, like, you get some big action. But it was just it was one of those things. It was a lot of fun to write. We had a lot of fun with it. I'm not going to say no to Godzilla. That's a fun one to knock off the bucket list.
I respect that. Mike Jones is joining us. Mike says, half expecting Van to say that Godzilla was the getaway driver. Joking aside, sounds like a great premise. Van, honestly, again, this idea of taking two very disparate genres and putting them together this way, I've always respected creators like yourself that think along those lines.
I can't. Well, so one, I like to Mike's comment. I'll have to say that's got to be a big damn car. I don't really. I never sit down and say like, what I want to do is alien sci-fi murder mystery. Like that's not the way that my head goes. It's more just, I think I find that, well, one, like I'm always going to do genre storytelling because to me, non-genre storytelling is just really kind of dull.
Yeah.
I mean, like some people love it. That's great. It's not for me. And then two, it's just a challenge of like, it's the Simpsons did it thing, right? Like everything's been done, everything under the sun, how do you do something new? So I tend to, if I have an idea that just strikes me that I keep thinking about, that's something I usually, it's like, it has to be pretty novel. It has to be like, I haven't seen anything like this before. And I think that almost naturally leads you to like, not be right in the center of the genre, but like branch out to the side of it.
Okay. Mike wants to know what era this is set in.
So this is contemporary. It's kind of like the Godzilla universe, and the people at Toho are pretty good about, you don't have to be like really strictly like this is the exact chronology of Godzilla, and you have to be in this, like this exact lane. So it's there were some specifics about like if you're going to do this, you need to use this thing, or things along those natures. But it's I would say it's kind of somewhere in between the more contemporary Godzilla movies and gosh, I'm blanking. There was a Godzilla sort of almost anime-esque style cartoon miniseries a couple of years ago. Gosh, I'm blanking on the name of it. Anyway, it's kind of like between those two.
Okay. I really respect Toho, and also, Matt Fraction, of course, co-created Monarch, and I thought that was great. And man, like you said, I mean, it's not about Godzilla's the big thing, almost a gigantic MacGuffin, but
a force of nature, right?
Yeah, but it's about the people, and it's about So I think that's great. Without spoiling, other kaijus perhaps maybe show up because of this phenomenon.
There's a little bit. Yep.
Hey,
I'm gonna say like by the end, if you're just looking for like a great big kaiju fight, like you're gonna be satisfied.
Attaboy. Outstanding. Now, again, Van, I take you to your word, but of course, about 10 or 12 years ago, there was Pinocchio Vampire Slayer. Let's not forget that. And by the way, I love that because beyond just that, I'll let you tell. First of all, is it still in print?
It's in print at IDW, but I think that the license is lapsing. So I think we'll be looking for a new home for Pinocchio this year.
Oh, I see. So in other words, you have the right, because Pinocchio is public domain, right?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people don't know, like everyone knows the Disney movie.
Sure.
But Pinocchio was originally a fairy tale, but people assume, it was an old fairy tale. Actually, it was from the 1880s.
Wow, I had no idea. Holy shit.
It's way more recent, and it's this Italian story, and it was written by a guy named Carlo Collodi, and he actually just he hated children. And so that was the point of the original Pinocchio story, is like the only real moral is like children are awful.
That's fantastic. Oh my God. Well, there you go. And
it's amazing. I love the original.
So drastically different from the Disney story?
Just like nothing to do with.
Isn't that crazy? I hear you, man. No, again, I mean, especially, I got a couple decades on you. And I went to Disneyland in Anaheim back in 1970. So I mean, I'm right. I was right there with all that crap. That's funny. But tell people well, that's great also, Van.
Yeah.
Because truly, I'm glad it's coming back to you, because really you're about to get a lot of buzz, I think, with wait. Hopefully, we'll light a few candles over here at Word Balloon for you.
Yeah.
But no, this is the kind of thing that, yeah, man, like from the creator of Godfall, and I love the premise. Give people the premise of beyond that it's Pinocchio, and give them the setup and everything, and how he attacks these vampires.
Yeah, so Pinocchio was my first graphic novel, and it started Dusty Higgins, the artist. It was his original idea, and he did this sketch, which of course Pinocchio he tells a lie. His nose grows out. It's a wooden stake, and it stabs through a vampire, and there you go.
A vampire slayer is born.
Yeah.
It's a great image. I love this and right there and everything, and also I love the inner monologue. I'm Pinocchio. I kill monsters. I kill vampires. Sure you do.
So it was that just like simple kind of one-off idea, and then Dusty was like, "Hey, I think there's a book there," and so we went back to the original. So there's actually and because the original is so different, the book has a recap of the original story at the start of it, because it's like you would have no idea what we're even talking about if you didn't know this stuff. And the thing we tried to do was, and this is what I'm a big believer, is make your characters' emotions real, and then you can do silly stuff or weird stuff or adventurous stuff or whatever, but the emotional stuff has to feel genuine. So we take Pinocchio on this really big, really emotional journey. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times people have come up to me and they've been like, "Man, I read that Pinocchio Vampire Slayer book and I cried at the end," and I'm like, well, that was the goal. But I just think, it's you can play around with stuff that's really interesting and different and weird and truly readers want to care about characters.
Of course. Absolutely. No, I get it, man. And that's great. And it's great that again, the rights are reverting back to you. Pretty neat stuff, man. Very, very cool. Another older thing that you did for Dynamite, and I always am happy to talk to people that have worked on James Bond. And you adapted a couple. How many Bond stories? Here's for the audio audience rather. I'm showing the cover to Casino Royale, one of your adaptations. But
I did the first two. I adapted Casino Royale and Live and Let Die. Yeah, and then I don't know that they ever. I think they might have stopped doing them after that. It was, I mean, the honest truth is, it was kind of a weird situation where there was someone who came into Dynamite who was trying to take over all of the James Bond stuff from everyone else who had been doing it. So Jeff Parker and I had a Bond thing that we were going to do together, and then they had, the Ian Fleming estate had wanted me to do more of those books, and it all kind of went away. And now I honestly am way too busy to really do licensed stuff anyway. But yeah, it was an incredible thing to how few people get to do James Bond stuff.
I so agree with you, and I've talked to Parker when he was doing his Bond stuff, and this image from the book jumped out at me, and it's again, this is what I love James Bond novels. I of course love the movies, but this is the kind of fun stuff that you can only do in a comic book. Who was your artist again?
That was we had different artists on the two books. Let me pull.
Okay, so that wasn't Dennis?
It was Dennis. It was Dennis Calero. Yeah.
Okay.
I was looking. I have the books right next to me. I was like, oh yeah, I got to see. Yeah, okay. Dennis did that one. Gosh, it's been enough years ago now. I should have had that top of mind. Yeah. So that image that you showed, I mean, I agree. That is comics at its core. And that one, there's a passage in Casino Royale where Bond gets tortured by Le Chiffre, and he gets, not to be too blunt about it, but he gets his testicles pummeled.
It's in the movie. It's in the Daniel Craig movie. Yeah.
Right. So that's in the book, and then in the book after that, there's 2 chapters that is James Bond in a hotel bed or in a hospital bed, basically just sitting and thinking like, maybe I'm never going to be able to have sex or have children. It's pretty much it, right? So, for comics, which is a visual medium, you're like, how do I visually depict a guy in a hospital bed thinking about impotency? And so, I was just like, right, his handgun disassembled.
I get it. I absolutely, man. No, that's and truly that is, without better words, the dirty secret of the Fleming novels. They're trashy novels, man.
Oh yeah.
And of course, in today's environment, there's a lot of inappropriate stuff in there, and that's fine. You could distill, and that's why I really respect creators like yourself. I always say this about a guy like Ram V, who was able to take the tropes of foreign intrigue and spin it in a way that isn't offensive in a people of color sort of way, and really do something different with the basic tropes of what's there. And that's why I think the essence of Bond is still great stuff. Although, and I wonder what your opinion is. Right now we're in Bond limbo, as far as we don't know who the next one's going to be, and Amazon's got the rights to the character. Mm-hmm. Clearly, they're having issues because they haven't been able to figure out exactly what to do. I loved, was it last Christmas? I think it was the previous year, and that's how long it's been, when Barbara Broccoli is like, these idiots don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
And then they go, fine, here's $1 billion, Barbara. Walk away, retire. Okay, I'll see everybody later. Take care of yourselves.
Yeah.
I can't blame her. But really, man, in this environment today of the Mission Impossible films and the Bourne Identity films and stuff, do you think you could still tell a new, fresh Bond story?
Yeah, it's kind of the question of, with a franchise, like, do you do a thing where you just constantly are like doing a run, you do 5 films and then you just start over again and you wait a while and then do 5 films and start over? Do you try to make it contemporary? They could do something with Bond where they make one-off films. I've always said, and this was what Parker and I were working on in the Bond universe, is like, let's see some World War II era Bond. That'd make an incredible film. I don't know, that franchise management thing, like it's a challenge. And and like now that I'm working more in the TV space, like you see all the other stuff that goes into the complicating factors of, like, you want to lay out a 10-year plan, but like, actors only sign 3-year contracts. And then once those are up, like, if your thing is actually successful, then that means all your actors are going to demand new contracts, and everything's going to get twice as expensive. It's a very tricky thing. It's kind of a miracle that good stuff ever gets made, even as hard as people really toil at it.
Understood. No, it's again, I wonder, and I think Dynamite did a good job with the license, and I've really enjoyed stories like yours and stories like Parker's and things over the years. And I'm so with you. I always quote a conversation I had with Matt Wagner years ago, and a lot of these characters do work best if you keep them in the era in which they were created. Bond's a Cold War character. Now we're entering a different Cold War,
right?
Sadly, and I don't know how cold it's going to be given some of the actions of when the head of Spectre suddenly is our president. Right. All that's missing is the cat. All that's missing is the cat. Yes, move on to Plan B. Jesus Christ! But anyway, I really think Bond works best and it's so odd because, of course, one of the great highlights, as evidenced by that image we showed of the gun and everything, Bond was tech, but I also wonder if today's tech and today's real tech is almost overwhelming to tell a good James Bond story.
It's like all the coolest, most far-flung gadgets are just common day. And a series that this is a Bond gadget, my phone right now. Right. A series of books and the TV series that I love is Slow Horses. Uh, I mean
Yes.
those
Yes.
books are incredible. The TV show is incredible.
Absolutely.
But like that's what spying is like today. So it just it's not the same thing. You can obviously do James Bond today. I think it's like how do you do this very old thing and find a way to not make it just totally irrelevant.
Yeah, no, and maybe that's why Amazon is struggling the way that it is in terms of giving us something new. I liked the Craig movies fine,
Yeah.
but I did appreciate the previous iterations. Every now and then, like when, and I think it's in For Your Eyes Only, when Roger Moore is at Tessa Bond's grave. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a callback to On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yep.
But otherwise, I mean, obviously it was the same guy every 5 or 7 movies, and then they move on. But there really wasn't a continuity per se.
Yeah.
With a rare exception like that.
Yeah.
And so I do kind of, but again, no, you're right about that. I mean, he's Commander Bond. It would be great to see him pre-Cold War and what was Bond doing, because as we know, Ian Fleming was a secret agent and working in British intelligence during the war. So yeah, and of course, have you ever watched any of those mini-series that British television has made about Fleming's war service?
Yeah. I mean, fascinating stuff.
Yeah, pretty neat stuff, man. Well, there you go. So I don't know if your stuff is still digitally available from Dynamite.
I would imagine so. I think the Bond books are still in print.
Okay, excellent. But yeah, man. So yeah, Live and Let Die and Casino Royale, and again, in both cases, a bit different. Well, in the case of Casino Royale, a little closer to the book with Craig's.
Yeah,
a little.
Yeah, Live and Let Die is a good bit different, and that one, I mean, the interesting challenge. I mean, there are all kinds of creative challenges, but the challenge that I worked with the Ian Fleming estate through was like, how to make it like not super racist.
Yeah, for real.
To be blunt, but like
for real,
like but also like to still like it's still a product of its time, and so I don't want to adapt it in a way where you can be like, oh well, Ian Fleming wasn't racist. Like no, the original book is. So yeah, it was a very sort of weird, fraught line to balance of like, like we still want to be true to the book, but also like there's some stuff in here that I'm absolutely not writing.
How was the Fleming estate? I mean, because obviously they're the keepers of the character.
They were great to work with. They were very
cool.
reasonable. They were totally attuned to like the culture is very different. Like there have to be changes. They were awesome to work with.
Excellent. Well, all right. Another before we get to the TV stuff, because I am curious, but another great moment from your past. And I'm fascinated by the story that you got to do for Superman.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, tell us about. Was that the title, Obituary / Deadline?
Yeah, so it was two short stories, and it was for the book that they did for those Walmart, like the special Walmart editions that
Absolutely.
had the collections of stories.
Yeah.
And so I never made a big push to write Superman when I was at DC, but like I grew up on a farm in Nebraska. I'm a former newspaper journalist.
Yeah, Clark Kent. Absolutely.
I kind of think I know how to handle that character. But that was the only time that I've gotten to do it. But yeah, so one story, like I basically pitched like, hey, like I'd like to write stories about journalism, because I think that's what most contemporary superhero comics miss, is making the alter ego life. It's like the soap opera is missing. The just like it's all capes. It's no humanity.
Yes.
So I was like, let me just really focus on humanity. So there's one story where it's basically like Clark Kent on deadline reporting on this story, but then it's like crazy stuff keeps happening, and so he's just like, I have this writing deadline to hit, but like there's a bomb on a train, that sort of thing, to just show us like it's really hard to be Superman because he's also Clark Kent.
But the other story, obituary, talk about that.
So the obituary story. So there's this thing in newspapers where you write what are called advance obituaries. So it's like the world is full of famous people. 100% of those famous people are going to die at some point, right?
Right.
So there would be someone on staff at the newspaper that would write obituaries for people before they die. Because you just like you want to keep these on hand so that it's just quicker to turn around to get the obituary out after the person actually dies. Like you have their biography, their life history there, and you update it. So the crux of this is Clark Kent gets assigned to write the advance obituary for Superman, which is obviously a very conflicted, challenging thing. And Perry's like, he's died once before. Like we, clearly we need this.
Kent.
But so it's like Superman, both or Clark Kent, I should say, both thinking about like, his life as Superman, and thinking over like what, like at some point he is going to die, and what is it going to be that kills him? But it's really just about the challenge of like, this is a really hard writing assignment.
That's great, man. And also, again, and I don't mean to keep name dropping, but when I have these conversations, Jeff Loeb and I, we talked about, because, he's got a big body of Superman work as well.
Huge.
And I always say what I loved about the George Reeves show was I don't mind wimpy Clark, but I like tough-nosed investigative reporter Clark Kent getting into Inspector Henderson's face and, I don't know, Bill, you're giving me a bunch of nonsense. Let's get another. All right, Kent, here's the real story. And it's like, and again, and as Jeff pointed out, and he's right, he's like, well, man, they had to save the costume for Act 3.
Right,
so,
right.
So you got Clark Kent tooling around and stuff like that. And he also said, and I can appreciate from a comic book artist standpoint, he's going to sell a hell of a lot more pages of Superman in the costume than blue-suited Clark Kent, skulking around and everything. But no, man, I mean, he's not Batman, but he is smart, and he is an investigative reporter. And I love that about Clark Kent. And it's that is like, I always appreciate a good story. I'll be honest, I didn't realize. I went to vanjensen.com and I saw this credit. So I am going to be going back, and I'm sure that at the very least on DC Universe or through.
Yeah, I think it's up digital somewhere.
Yeah. So no, I'm going to grab it. Absolutely, man. So yeah, everybody, you should. I think that these are intriguing ideas for Superman stories, obituary and deadline from Van. So why not? Last time we talked, you also had fun with one of the great public domain mystery characters, Stardust.
Yeah.
There's that great Mike Allred cover.
Yeah.
So, now upon reflection, it's such a weird character. Can you describe? I bet you can't, because again, he had such.
Oh boy.
I mean, who was
the guy?
Who was the guy again that created Stardust?
Fletcher Hanks.
That's right, Fletcher Hanks.
Yeah. So yeah, Stardust was a contemporary character to like early Superman, so like late 30s, early 40s. And he's, just sort of an all-powerful space wizard who had different powers issue to issue, really hated racketeers primarily. Fought some Martians also, but basically just like would inflict horrible punishment on random racketeers and horribly disfigure them. And yeah, so it was this comic book series that ran way back then, fell in the public domain, got forgotten. It reads like R. Crumb trying to do Silver Age superheroes. And so we did this anthology that it has stories by Allred, Jeff Parker, Jesse Lonergan, just on and on and on. And so I headed that up. And it's I think Zoop, so it was through Zoop. I think that Zoop, like we had a few extra copies, so I think there are some extra copies available through Zoop. We're looking to see if we can. I mean, I've been a little tied up, but I'm hoping to find a publisher to do a distro deal, just to, have it available. Because I mean, I'll tell you, like Jesse Lonergan, the story that he did for it, it's my favorite comic book story ever. There's just some amazing stuff in there. So I'd love to see it, get out to a bigger audience.
How much did you get into Fletcher Hanks himself?
So I got to know his grandson, who actually wrote and drew a story for the book. And Paul Karasik, the comics historian and cartoonist, he had done a collection of Hanks's work, and then tracked down a lot of history. I mean, Fletcher Hanks was like a miser, just kind of a terrible person, an alcoholic, like froze to death on a park bench, like had a really intense, really hard life. Jeez.
No, that's amazing, man. And, again, his godlike powers and all that. It's really been in my conversations with people as Superman inches closer, or I should say, what's in Action 1 is inching closer to public domain and things. Would you ever want to do? Again, you're about to get incredibly busy if you're not already very busy. But would you ever want to do a public domain Superman story?
I mean, probably not. Just the Stardust book really came about through, there were a handful of us who just loved Stardust, and in a lot of ways that book is sort of almost a bit of a farewell to comics, because I'm so busy with novels and TV, and frankly comics is like, it's a tough business. Like you work twice as hard to make a quarter of the money, kind of. So like, I love comics. I'll probably always have some hand in it, but I'm not expecting to do a lot. But I just want to do this one last thing to just, share my love of comics.
Well, there's a great body of work here that people can find on vanjensen.com. But, again, excited to see what happens with Godfall. But also, tell me about this as much as you can, because you might be in a weird, NDA situation. But tell me about the new television project you got going.
Yeah, well, I can't. So I can't tell a lot, unfortunately. But it was a really cool situation in that there was all the attention on Godfall, of course, and so then that like put me on the radar of all these other people, and so I got to go meet with a bunch of different producers and execs and studios, and I just treat it as like, I just want to find people that I like, people that I get along with, people that I might want to work together with.
Sure.
I am who I am. Like, if whoever you are talking to me, like you get the same Van Jensen experience, which for good or bad. So I went into these meetings, and it was really cool because everyone wanted to do stuff with me. And I went into one studio and we chatted for a while, and then they asked what I was up to. And there was a project that I had originally intended to do as a comic book, but the rights weren't locked in anywhere. And so I told them about the concept, and they bought it on the spot and hired me to write it. So that's been a lot of my focus over the past year. And we've got a pilot that's pretty well done and should be rocking and rolling pretty soon.
So are you shopping that at various platforms then, the pilot?
Yeah, so we're locked at the studio, so then we'll find, which channel or platform wants to do it, and hopefully be, filming in the next year or so.
That's fantastic. By the way, I've bought tickets to the Van Jensen Experience Imitators, and nothing can compare to the real Van Jensen Experience. I'll say that right now.
Yeah, you can grow a beard and shave your head, but that's only half the ball game.
Come on, man. Absolutely. Van, way to go. Seriously, man. I'm really, really happy for you. When both when Godfall and when your unnamed television project, if they come to light. I certainly hope you'll come back and talk about this stuff.
Oh, always here for you, John. You're the best.
Well, I mean, I really appreciate it, man. Again, everybody, jump on board of Godfall from Grand Central Publishing. It's if it's good enough for Ron Howard, it's likely good enough for you. You got the Opie Cunningham seal of approval, as Eddie Murphy would say. So good stuff. Way to go, Van. Honestly, I'm really happy for you, and it meant a lot that you gave me a shout out and said, "Hey, I got this cool shit going and everything."
Hey,
again, you're always welcome to talk about it here.
Yeah, any excuse I have to get to chat with you, John, is great.
Thank you very much, man. Well, everybody, I'm taking tomorrow off because you can hear my voice. But the good news is I'll be back Thursday. Another television adaptation of a comic book, Jeremy Hahn's The Beauty, premieres tomorrow on Hulu and FX. And Jeremy's going to join me on Thursday night to talk about that. And Jake, and right now, what's Jake's last name, the Godzilla editor?
Oh, Jake Williams.
Jake Williams, everybody. Really nice guy from IDW. Had the pleasure of meeting him just a few weeks ago. And by the way, again, I should mention Beyond Godfall, that Van's Godzilla heist from IDW, currently available, the trade, waiting for you to check out. Well, Jake is going to be on as well on Thursday night. And so it's going to be a double feature. So that's why I'm really going to have to gargle and get my voice back in shape for that. So I hope you'll join us for more Word Balloon Live. And if you've missed stuff this week, I was just telling Van, I don't mean to brag, but Charlie Adler was on yesterday, had Brad Meltzer on Friday, had Tom King on last week for 2 hours, and a lot more great stuff before the end of January. So all that's coming up right here on Word Balloon Live. Until next time, everybody stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.